The next piece we're looking at is a female head. Now, in Mesopotamia, oftentimes a female head is going to be interpreted as Inanna. And that's what we're doing here. We don't actually know for sure who this is, but Inanna is a major female god tied to fertility. We tend to see female gods related to fertility. See Venus, Aphrodite, who is a fertility goddess, not a love goddess, but that's a whole different ball of wax. And what we're seeing here is a stone sculpture of the head. And then it would have had inlaid eyes as well as inlaid eyebrows, probably with semi-precious stones, the eyes inlaid with some kind of white stone, maybe even some kind of rock crystal pupil to go into the middle of it. Oftentimes, these would be valuable to them. And when I say precious or semi-precious stones, those change from society to society. What is available, what is rare. For example, today we think of diamonds as being precious for whatever reason when they're not terribly rare. Whereas in many societies, they would have seen something like amethyst, which we take for granted, or lapis as valuable because they could only get in trade from places in and around Afghanistan. The hair would have been gold. Why gold? Well, gold is incorruptible. Gold is one of the few metals in the world, possibly the only one, I'm not a chemist, that doesn't oxidize. It's why they use gold, for example, in the airbag in your car. There's a sheet of gold behind that plastic cover that allows the electric current to fire across it. They use it because it won't break down. To ancient man, the color is associated with the sun. It's easily worked, and it's the only metal they're aware of that doesn't oxidize, doesn't break down. And so it's seen as associated with the gods, eternal, unending, incorruptible. And we would have seen this inlay done with shells and jewels, primarily around the eyes. Why the focus on the eyes? Well, again, the eyes are really the doorway that we see the world. It's how we perceive, or most people perceive, the world around them. It is how we understand our universe. It's our main element of perception for humans. So it becomes the primary focus. Now, we believe that the head was attached to a wooden life-size sculpture. And the sculpture could have just been an armature, sort of like a wooden stick figure. And then once you dress it, it looks very, very human or godlike, depending on what we're dealing with. We believe it's a goddess because all of this effort, all of these resources are typically not used on a portrait or a sculpture of an average person or even a priest or priestess. It is possible, but it is fairly unlikely. The use of precious materials in the piece originally probably indicates that it is tied to a goddess. The object was also found in a temple complex tied to Inanna, who is a fertility goddess associated with sex and divine law. Now, in modern day, every time we hear fertility goddess, we fill in love. It's because it makes it feel better. But in reality, one would have prayed to Inanna, just like Aphrodite or Venus in Greek or Roman times, primarily for elements of fertility, to have offspring, or to have offspring of the appropriate gender, whatever it is you're looking for. Inanna will become Ishtar later on. But whereas ancient man was a little more comfortable with the idea of sex, we are not. And so in the West, when they really started studying the Greeks and Romans, especially during the neoclassical, so around 1750 until after Napoleon, 1815, what you get is a lot of people who will go, fertility, well, that's not really appropriate. We're getting kind of staunch about things. Let's call it love. And that's how we make that connection of love and beauty with fertility. But to them, it would have been a figure of fertility.